Oh, thank you, Reverend Bob, for that wonderful introduction. You know, what's great about being here and sharing such a long history is that he doesn't even have to call me to get a bio at all. He has all that information already in his file. So it's wonderful. So as our chairperson, Mrs. Ruth Sale, mentioned this morning, today is the Ohigan service, very special service. But I wanted to ask you guys, who was here last week for that Aba Spring Food Festival? Who was here last week? Yeah, it was only a week ago. Can you believe that? It felt like a long time ago, but it was just last week. And for those of you that missed it, I just got to tell you, the food here is fantastic. And growing up in the temple, that is definitely one of my most fond memories of this temple. All the great temple food that we have. So if you missed out this year, make sure you remember, mark your calendars in March. The scouts had these huge beef teriyaki sandwiches. We had a huge chicken, shioyaki chicken, and I ate the whole thing. I mean, I don't even think Jen and Ellie got any, but I ate the whole thing. So it was really fantastic. So remember, mark your calendars, because March is that special time of year when that happens. And as we mentioned this morning, March is not only the month of the food festival, but it is our Ohigan service. And as Mrs. Seo mentioned, Ohigan is observed 2 times a year during the spring and the fall equinox. And I had to Google what equinox was, right? It's a bit of a science term. It's when the Earth's hemisphere lines up perfectly with the sun, so the sun shines evenly on both sides of the Earth. And it is a time of year when, you know, the days and the nights are of equal length, and the weather, as you can see outside, not too hot, not too cold, very perfect weather. As a matter of fact, it was really beautiful. Yesterday, I was in Palo Alto with our YBA kids. So we took 12 kids, and I drove back last night. So I came here by way of Palo Alto, actually, too, not just the pocket. So okay, Ohigan. Ohigan means other shore. And I'm still learning all these terms. I'm still a student, and I'm learning all these terms. And what I have come to understand Ohigan as being is when we say other shore, we don't think of it necessarily as a physical other shore, like a place. We don't think of Ohigan as like a place that we have to go. I've been taught that Ohigan is more like a state of existence, a state of being. And the way I look at it when I think about another shore is I think of crossing a large body of water, right, to get to another shore. So the way I think of it is there is a sea of ignorance, if you will. A sea of selfishness, a sea of the 3 poisons that stands in our way. And we have to cross that sea to get to the other shore of enlightenment or understanding. And that's kind of the way I look at other shore and what Ohigan means. And it's hard because to cross that sea, you got to change how you see. See what I did there? See, okay? To cross that sea, you got to change how you see. You got to change your perspective, how you look at the world. And it's hard to see things in a way other than through your own eyes. It's hard to see things from somebody else's viewpoint or somebody else's perspective. It's human nature to look at the world through only our eyes. And if you stop and think about it, most of your conflicts, most of your arguments, they will arise because there's a difference in viewpoint in how you see something and how somebody else sees something. And for example, little things, and these aren't big issues, and I wasn't sure if Janet was going to be here, so I was talking about her, but oops. Little things like, okay, perspective things, like things that, let's say, are things that, you know, whatever, annoy is too strong a word, but, you know, bother you a little bit, right? Let's say when she does, we take turns doing the laundry and stuff, but when she washes like all the bath towels and the hand towels, she'll take them off the thing and throw them in the laundry basket and go down. And I've even moved the towels into our room so they're in a little cabinet so you can replace them as you take them out. All right? Because always and invariably, the only way I know that they're being washed is because right when I wash my hands, there's no towel to dry my hands, right? And I go, how hard is it to replace a towel after you take it, right? That's not really something to get annoyed about at all. And the other one, this is terrible. I didn't, you know. I feel bad now. Oh, welcome to my lovely wife, and now I'm talking about her. Okay. So the other thing is, and then, you know, I usually take out the kitchen garbage, but on occasion, if I'm in a meeting, if I'm in a very important church meeting on a Monday night, for example, Janet will take out the garbage, and that's the other one too. So I say, when you take out the garbage, you got to put another, liner inside. I mean, how hard is it? Because I open the garbage lid and I throw something away, and I'm like, oh, no liner inside, right? Like, that's going to ruin my world, right? Really, I'm like, I can't believe it. How hard is it to put a liner? And I've been thinking about that, and I thought about how petty and how selfish and how self-centered to even be bothered by something so small. Shouldn't we be thankful that somebody else took out the garbage? Shouldn't we be thankful that somebody else washed my towel, or else maybe my towel would never get washed? Right? We're boys. That's fine. My hands are clean. Why would it be dirty, right? And those little things, so I don't know if you noticed, Janet, but I put the towels back, this week. Okay, anyway. Because it's hard to shift your mindset. You get used to a certain thing, and you get used to a certain way, and it's hard to change. And it's hard to self-evaluate because you're always looking at somebody else. And that's what it means to cross that sea of ignorance. I'm trying to cross that sea. I'm trying to swim across and get to the other shore of wisdom and true awakening. So another thing happened to me, maybe it was a couple weeks ago, and those of you that are my Facebook friends probably saw my post, and it was a bit, it wasn't very specific. So now in front of all of you, I'm gonna share the story, okay? So one morning, we woke up early and I walked Ellie to school, so we decided to take the dog out. And in the morning, I don't get ready, so I should have brought my beanie today. But, I was in my beanie, so I wore my beanie hat, and I have my hoodie on, and then we have a pit bull mix too, okay? So you can imagine that. I didn't look like the most, stand-up guy, I guess you could say. So I'm in my beanie, I'm walking back, and I have a chain link choker on my dog. So, yeah, so I'm walking home after I drop her off, and I'm walking home. And right in my line of walking, there was an older lady who had a little black dog with her. And as I approached, I was just walking, and she's all, are you coming this way? Are you coming this way? And so already I went, oh, here we go, okay? Here we go. And I went, yes, I'm walking in a straight line. And it happens to be going that way. Okay, so as I approached her, she's already halfway into the bike lane, into the street. And again, as Buddhists, we are not supposed to arrive at conclusions, correct? We are not supposed to make assumptions. But my assumption was, here she is, judging me in my little beanie, my little hoodie, and my little pit bull, right? The killer breed. As I approached her, I said, oh, ma'am, you don't have to worry, he's friendly, right? And she responds, hey, he sure looks friendly, I embellished that a little bit, but that's what she said. She goes, why, he sure looks friendly, and she said it like that. So I'm starting to boil up a little bit already, right? Because there are so many prejudices, especially against this breed, and it was a judgment against me as well. So I said, fine, and I just kept walking. And right as I walked past her, I was trying to think pure and beautiful thoughts. As Haley read The Golden Chain. I was really trying, but she just gave me one more, and she said, you need to stay in your own neighborhood. That gets that reaction every time I tell the story. Again, I read into that statement a little more deeply than I should have. I read into it much more than just stay in your own neighborhood. I read it, with what is going on in the world today, perhaps I read into it as you need to stay in your own country. You need to stay in you know what I mean? I read really deeply into it with all that's going on in the world today. And I broke form, okay? I broke form. And of course, after something happens, you always wish you had a more intelligent and creative comeback. What did I say? You don't know me. So lame. That is so lame. You don't know me. You don't know my dog. That's exactly what I said. And bear in mind, this is on the route back from Ellie's school. I'm walking down the main street. Honda Odysseys are driving by with moms that know me, okay, all of them. And I'm having an altercation with an old woman in the street. This is horrible. I'm all, you don't know me. You can't come up with stuff like that without saying this and that. You can't say that to me. I'll go wherever I want. Matter of fact, I'm gonna follow you all day. No. That's what I wish I said. I didn't say that. I thought of that after I got home. I'm going to follow you around. You're going to arrest me for following? So, as I kind of regained my composure after Christy Morioka drove by with her window down going like, oh, what's wrong? And I went, oh, I'm a minister assistant. I can't do this. So I said, and then I just kept walking down the street. Lo and behold, I continued not 6, 7 houses down, and I saw another one of the Didion fathers, and I saw him. I'm like, hey, what's up, man? How you doing? And I says, you wouldn't believe what just happened to me. This terrible grumpy lady just gave me, a hard time for me and my dog. And he looked at me and went, ah, man, that's Nosy Rosie, like that. In other words, he knows her. People in the neighborhood already know her. So clearly, and again, I don't mean to talk poorly of someone. I made up that name, okay? He's clearly, this is her personality trait already. And here I am taking this thing so personally, right? I took this statement with such a perspective of self-ego. Like she meant it towards me. It upset me. It was unjust to me. And coming to discover that this is very common for her, this bitter, negative gas, the 3 poisons that she puts out there. This is common for her. So it actually made me feel a little bit better, right, that it wasn't personal. And I said bye to him, and I felt a little better, and as I crossed the street, and I started my trek home, another one of our wonderful Didion moms, she stops in the middle of Riverside Boulevard pretty much, rolls down the window, and she goes, your dog's so cute, like that. She's yelling out the window, she's like, hey, your dog is so cute. And it just ended that whole episode on this really uplifting note, right? This uplifting note. Yet, our human nature is still to focus on that first negative thing that happened and ignore all the wonderful, wonderful things that happened after. And as I shared this story with my book club, we had our book club meeting, and I shared this story. I see you all. One of my book club members, after I told the story about the 3 encounters, she asked me a question. And rarely do I get stumped. Obviously, I like to talk, so rarely do I get stumped. But she turned to me and she said, who was your teacher? Who was your teacher that day? And I went, wait, I'm the one that's supposed to be asking these questions. Wait a minute. And I thought about it, and I was truly stumped for a moment. She got me. And I said, was it Lisa at the very end who just showered me with joy? Was it the other dad that I encountered that said, oh, that's just her nature, don't worry about it? And she clearly said to me, no, the lady that you first encountered that caused your conflict, she is your teacher. And I still kind of didn't understand where she was going with this. And what she said was, she is your teacher because she taught you where your weakness was. When you break like that, and you succumb to that anger, you are breaking at that break point. So she taught me where my limits were. And it's ironic that I talk about our book club because there's a chapter in it. We're reading the book called The Center Within by Gyome Kubose. And there's a chapter that says, if a person hands you filth on a silver tray, even if it's on a silver tray, will you accept it? It's on a silver tray after all, right? I mean, hey, but it's filth. Will you accept it? No, of course not. Nobody would accept it. And that's what that poison is. That's what that lady's poison was. It was filth on a silver tray, and I took that tray with both hands. Because if you don't accept that tray, who ends up with the filth? Well, the person that had the tray, right? Yeah, absolutely right. If you don't accept that tray, that stays with them. And it's not a part of you. It is no longer your concern. It is not something that you have to deal with. And that is the lesson that she taught me. So she was my sensei that day. And this lesson seems so obvious to all of us, but in the heat of the moment and in the heat of our ego, right? Our ego, our sense of righteousness, even all of you reacted like, ooh, right? It's hard to keep that contained, isn't it? It's very hard. So we have to remember the adage that we all said when we were children. So if you remember nothing else today, remember this. What did we say as kids when someone called you a name? It was sticks and stones may break my bones. But what do you say after they say something mean? I'm rubber, you're glue. Whatever you say bounces off of me and sticks to you, right? Nobody else said that? Just me? Okay, you guys were lucky you didn't get called names. So, no, but we say that phrase. You guys all know the phrase, though, right? You've heard the phrase. We have heard this as children, yet we forget this phrase and we think it's a children's phrase. But it's not. It is a very important phrase because think of it as filth on the tray. I'm rubber, you're glue. You can't affect me because whatever you say negative, it bounces off of me and sticks back to you. So that may not be the most deep Ohigan message of today, but I'm pretty sure that you will remember it. And when I shared this story with Reverend Patty and I share an office. And, I tell Patty, poor Patty, she can't get any work done because I have to tell her so much. Patty, you won't believe what happened to me, Patty. So poor Patty. But as I told her this story, I'll never forget this because she listened to me really deeply. She always listens to me. And she never passes judgment on me. But at the end of my story, she asked me a very important question. And she turned to me and she said, when you encounter this lady again, what will you say? And I never even thought about it. I never even dawned on me because we always think of what would you have said to get back at her, like a more clever phrase. And finally, after formulating today's talk, after talking about Ohigan and trying to arrive at this other shore, I realized what I would say to her is, thank you. And I would say to her, thank you for being my teacher. And I won't explain anything else. That's all I'll say. That's all that needs to be said. So I'm so thankful that I have such wonderful people in my book club to share this with, and Patty and Reverend Bob and all of our teachers and teammates here. So that is my Ohigan message for today. So in closing, will you please join me in Gassho? Ohigan is a time of balance and harmony. And although we only celebrate Ohigan twice a year, this balance is something we should strive for each and every day. Keep your mind open, keep your ego in check, and keep on learning. And you can continue to cross the sea of ignorance and get one step closer to the other shore. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu.